and I think that you can never get there through assuming that reality is a template that you can model, and that if we just had better modeling tools, we would get to the reality of the context and the truth of the site. And I guess I think that that's also at stake in the FAT work. I guess I wanted to show the FAT work to say that, I think that the cartoon project is a fairly broad umbrella if it goes from Sejima and a kind of Japanese minimalism to English hyper postmodern kitsch to Dutch, wit to, I think that the idea is that it starts to draw a circle around a set of projects that don't have a particular a priori formalism to them. Oh, I thought you didn't have to raise your hand.
But I do have questions. And part, I really appreciated the talk, and this is part of the reason I miss you being here in a way, because I feel like your contribution to discourse is significant, but also at a micro level. For me, you're always the mediating figure between Jeff and I. Jeff will always want to plan a kind of
that can't be a happy place to be.
In terms of the inscrutability of the architect's effort. I feel like with a cartoon plan, you make it somehow political and about this consensus model. And where I, a follower but also part company, or sort of struggle with is taking your example of the new urbanists in a way. You talk about tying one hand behind your back because the new urbanists provided a model of imageability and what it looked like. And I also think tied into that was their ability to describe situations, to use the artifact of whether you call it factuality or specification and engage these other realms. And so my struggle with my own work is to try to figure out how you can be, and this goes back to the first question in a way, one to resynthesize. How one starts to imagine degrees of engagement makes it sound like a community project, but basically performance models that are spawned from the work. So maybe it's not about the facts coming into it, but the way in which the performance of the object can be described in multiple vectors. And so to stage it as a question, I guess, you've already answered it once because you say they're separate ontologies, and I guess my question is, does the cartoonism version preclude these other manifestations of the performance of the architecture? Like in an earlier iteration of discipline, you would say it precisely doesn't engage these things under a kind of purity model because architecture, qua architecture, only displays its own characteristic traits. I mean, what's the degree of sort of throwing?
No, I guess maybe the answer would be it's a kind of means-end issue, right? Which is to say that if you have your particular, I think Colin Royce called pocket utopia or whatever, that you have your particular world to project. Certainly the issue is how you instantiate it, and that requires technical expertise, which I guess is why I said that typically I would not like the Monsters, Inc. version, or but I'll stipulate Drexler that technology is what allows us to realize the fantasy, and there are different technologies, construction technologies, material technologies, but also political technologies, interest rates, laws, codes. There's a set of techniques and technologies that you would have to have allied with a particular envisioning of the world. So if it's about engaging those protocols, for sure. But if those protocols are given as the a priori, which is my BIM straw man, at least as registered by certain former faculty at UIC, the idea that we're just adequating the real world as it exists in real time as a real-time value engineering model because we want to turn architecture into a guaranteed product, I think that's the death of the discipline. Because the discipline requires failure. Without the possibility of failure, there's no discipline. So, yeah, I think that you need to be expert in sort of developing techniques, but you also have to be, realize that this thing, services can fail, and whereas products have the allure of being guaranteed. And so I think that the commoditization of architecture is what those sort of modeling operations engage. So for sure you have to deal with, the question is, I won't give the clash line, but what's that?
Use the rules. They're not for you, they're for the fools.
That's good. I was thinking of he who fucks nuns will later join the church. Which is to say that if you think you're doing one thing and basically you get sold down the river, you know, I mean, so the issue of like how to use policy, protocol, developer logics, or whatever, I mean, I think that that's, you know, if it's a means to an end, yeah, but if it has become a means that's been sublimated as its own end, which I think is, you know, another version of that bureaucratization of the, you know, I mean, and I do think that the detour through other conditions, other sites, was meant to liberate plastic, alternative, counterfactual worlds. I think that it's ended up assuming that those things are truths that you've covered and then, you know, deal with locally as a truth. And I think that's, you know, research mistook its means for its ends, basically.
Okay, well, Bob, thank you very much.